In this video I want to talk with you about my first Lumineth Realmlords battle experience with Teclis on the field and what I learned from it. My list was Teclis, 1 Ymetrica Alarith, 5x10 Auralan Wardens and 4x10 Auralan Sentiles, which is almost 2000 points. My friend Franz thought hard about how to grind me into the dust and chose the Ironjawz. He had 1 Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, 1 Mega Boss on foot, 2 War Chanters, 1 Shaman, 2x20 Art Boys, 2x20 Brutes, and a pack of 3 Gore Grunters. He had told me beforehand that he would play Ironjawz, and I was mortally afraid of Gordrock. So I chose Syar as a great nation, not Ymetrica or Alarith. I will tell you why in a moment. A few comments about the pictures. We had to proxy a lot. I don't have enough Wardens and Sentiles. I have a lot of Stone Guard and so on for my Alarith, but I don't have enough of the usual models, and as you know, they're bloody expensive and take a time to paint. So the blue guys in the first row, those are the 5 units of Wardens with spears. And the white guys and girls, they are the Sentiles. Even if 10 of them have spears. I use the white guys as Sentiles. And Franz doesn't have enough Ironjawz. He has a lot of Orcs and Goblins, but not enough Ironjawz. So we used some Khorne, Wrathmongers and Skull Reapers as extra Brutes, and some of the old Orcs as additional Art Boys. We had the shifting objective battle plan, and we used the new Ulgu rules. I got to start on the first turn, and I managed the power of Hish spell on almost every of those 9 units. With Teclis, 2 of the spells I used were Total Eclipse, that the enemy has to use 2 command points instead of 1, and the protection of Teclis, which is an 18-inch 5+ aftershave bubble. I couldn't reach the orcs with my spells, but I could reach them with my bozo, and 40 Sentiles are brutal. Most of them had the power of a Hish spell, so mortal wounds on 5 and 6. As you can see, Teclis and the Ymetrica Alarith are surrounded by Wardens and Sentiles, so no one can charge directly into them. And the Ymetrica Alarith, if she is the general of a Syar Lumineth Great Nation army, has the command trait Goading Arrogance. At the start of the combat phase, you can pick 1 enemy hero within 6 inches of this general. That enemy hero can only target this general in that phase. In addition, you can add 1 to hit rolls for attacks that target that enemy hero in that phase. I even forgot the second part, but first time I read this was, what's the advantage of forcing someone to attack you, especially if you're as weak as a Ymetrica Alarith? But it means, if you screen off the Ymetrica Alarith and Teclis like I did, and someone is trying to destroy the Wardens in front of Teclis, to get to him, it doesn't work. Nor can he hit Teclis if somehow they manage to destroy the screening unit. The enemy hero, in this case a Maw Crusher with Mega Boss, can only attack the Ymetrica Alarith, whom he can't reach because the base is too big. Which he found out when he crushed into my Wardens. He couldn't hit anyone, he charged the Wardens. Something you do not want to do is charge into Wardens. Because of their spears, they get +1 to wound, +1 rend. Then they were all standing in Shining Company formation, which means you have a -1 to hit. And then they had the 5+ aftersave bubble concocted by Teclis. 10 Wardens are only 120 points. And they're very, very good. It's one of the strongest units right now available in the whole game. The first round looked really bad with the Orcs. I shot a lot of Orcs with my Sentiles, and then the Maw Crusher couldn't do anything. Also the Gore Grunters were already quite damaged. before they even arrived. Then of course you have the ether quartz, and the Syar units have 2 ether quartz. You have to subtract 1 bravery every time, but still, they can do all sorts of funny things, including +1 to hit. And you have the lightning reflexes, which means you can hit with 2 units. So these Lumineth, there's so many abilities, so many abilities. And they're all good. The second round was going really well for the orcs. They managed to do the smashing and bashing. One of the best things about Ironjawz is smashing and bashing. If you manage to destroy a whole unit, you can go again and again and again and again, as long as you manage to destroy the whole unit, which he managed 2 or 3 times. And he also took 2 of my objectives. But the mega boss on Maw Crusher was almost dead by that time. Partly by Teclis spells, this searing white light, what it's called, storm of searing white light, quite brutal. And then of course all the Wardens. So at the end of the second round we were even in victory points. Then the orcs had a double turn and destroyed even more of my guys, and all 3 objectives belonged to them. Now that I had defused the big threats, the Gore Grunter and the Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, it was up to Teclis now. But again, the Ymetrica Alarith made the day, because the one Mega Boss was about to destroy one of my Wardens units, the Mega Boss on foot. But the Ymetrica Alarith has this rule that you can turn the losses and give them to an enemy unit for their bravery test. It's called emotional transference. Typical example of how dangerous emotions are. Dangerous and unhealthy. So I was able to keep my 6 Wardens, and instead some of the art boys ran away. So in the end I had Teclis fly over to capture the center objective, while the 2 units of brutes guarded their objectives, and the art boys tried to kill off my Sentiles and destroyed 1 unit. Teclis was able to kill 2 of the shamans and ward chanters, and so there were not many orcs left. Sentiles proved very hard. 3 units of them left. Still did a lot of damage, even without the spell, and even with a long range. This lantern is really good because you don't need line of sight. I was able to capture the 3rd objective, so I had 2 objectives, one of which was the main objective. So I was leading with 1 point, victory point. But he had no more heroes left. I had still the Ymetrica Alarith unharmed. Teclis, only 2 wounds. Almost 3 full units of Sentiles. 2 half units of Wardens. Well, there were only 5 brutes and 6 art boys left. And since I had 2 of the objectives pretty firmly in my hands, and the 4th round would have been a double turn for me, we decided that the fight was over and there was no way for the orcs to turn this around in their favor anymore. This fight would have gone completely different if I hadn't played Syar. If I had played Iliatha or Zytric as I had planned originally, probably the Maw Crusher would have killed the Wardens, and then probably Teclis too, because he's not very good in fighting. He has this staff with 1 shooting attack and the sword with 2 quite good melee attacks, but it's not so strong. And Selena is okay. He killed quite a few enemies with his 6 attack. If you can protect Teclis from melee combat with dangerous foes like a Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, he's quite good. He's definitely worth his 660 points. He has this aura of Selena, which I completely forgot and didn't need. But what I did use in every of my hero phases was a protection of Teclis. That's really a massive spell. And as we know from Nurgle and the Fire Slayers, an aftersave is very, very tough. And this is an aftersave bubble. The Storm of Searing White Light was very good also. And I rolled really well. I have to say I rolled really well. Lots of 6s. On a 5+, you deal d6 mortal wounds to each enemy unit within 18 inches. and then I always rolled a 5 or 6 as damage too. Then it is also very comfortable that Teclis knows all 12 Lumineth spells on top of his 2. I always used the 4 spells with the 10, the auto 10, which was also very, very comfortable, and I always used the auto unbind as well. In the first round I used the total eclipse, then I used ethereal blessing on the Ymetrica Alarith. The Ymetrica Alarith used the speed of Hish once, which was very good, so I could reach an objective with my battle line troop faster. And I also used a crippling vertigo with Teclis while the Ymetrica Alarith was casting Darkness of the Soul. That's also a mean thing about the Lumineth. You have these 2 spells with which you can stop your enemy from doing things with a high probability. So you can basically render 2 enemy units useless. As an analysis, I would say try to not to get him into a fight. He can deal with small heroes, but don't fight with Teclis against big heroes. The auto unbind and the 4 spells on auto 10 are really, really, really powerful. I cannot imagine anyone, maybe Lord Kroak or Slann or some Lord of Changes, but not really. There's no competition. Nagash maybe, we would have to try it out, not sure. That would be an interesting battle, Teclis against Nagash. So Teclis has this one weakness that he's not hyper dangerous in melee, but all the other Lumineth units, they don't really have any disadvantages, and they have so many abilities, so many different abilities, and the synergies work so well in this book. Then you have the Shining Company and the power of Hish. I guess the Lumineth are a little bit too cheap right now, and I think they're one of the 3 strongest armies right now, really. No matter how you play them. Last time also I won quite easily with my 2 mountain spirits, and Franz said that he found this army even tougher than the one with the Alarith. I still think the battle could have turned out another way if I hadn't played Syar, but that's a super powerful way to safeguard Teclis. So in this game I really was able to try out Teclis and the Wardens and the Sentiles. All 3 of them proved very powerful. The Ymetrica Alarith also much better than I thought. So next time I have to try out Zytric or Eliatha, and also the Dawn Riders. That's the only unit I haven't tried out yet. Please write in the comments below your experiences with Teclis, playing Teclis or playing against Teclis, or playing the Lumineth or against the Lumineth in general. I will do some more painting videos in the next few weeks. Melusai, Lumineth, all the new stuff, and the Broken Realm stuff. So far, Caradhran Overlords and Seraphon are supposed to be the most powerful armies, so I am dying to pit the Lumineth against those. But I think they really stand a good chance. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing or joining me on Patreon and sharing the videos with your friends. See you soon.